welcome to Press Pause Now Showing. I'm Matt Galvin, and I'm here with
Charles Huttinger
and David Goldburg.
So this is a special now showing. We just got out of the screening of Wonder Woman. This is going to be a review for the new DC cinematic masterpiece. No, it actually was pretty good. I was pretty shocked.
Yeah,
it was pretty solid.
I was a fan.
Just to go really quickly into a little bit of backstory about this, the DC universe so far has just released
Man of Steel.
That was the first one. Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, and now this. The older DC movies like The Dark Knight, Batman Begins, for those of you who don't know, are not part of this universe, just like the older Marvel movies like Daredevil or Blade are not in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So when we talk about the DC Cinematic Universe, I guess they just call it the DC Universe now. Shared universe?
Yeah, extended
universe versus the Marvel. That's what we're talking about. Just these 4 films. And then so the Marvel ones are all Iron Man 1 up. You know, and the big thing with DC versus Marvel is Marvel's been killing it.
They've been great.
So DC's playing really hard to catch up, and why financially it's been a success, right? Batman v Superman made money, and Suicide Squad made a lot of money. I think fans and critics are both really mixed on those films. And Man of Steel made money.
Wonder Woman brought in $39 million or so.
That we know of. I think it was like $40 million now today, but it was also the highest grossing film from a female director opening ever, which is pretty crazy. But this is actually, to me, not counting again Dark Knight or Batman Begins, the first, I think, good DC Universe film.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, I guess let's go into the plot of the film. They introduced Wonder Woman in Batman v Superman, and it was very kind of short, you know, so we didn't kind of know what how do you say, Gadot?
Gadot, yeah.
Gal Gadot.
Didn't get her backstory.
Didn't get her backstory. You just got like a little blurb on Lex's computer where he designed her logo.
Right, and her picture of her from World War I.
Right, which is in this film, yeah.
Which ties into this movie.
Totally. And that's when Bruce Wayne kind of is like, holy crap, this woman has lived for way past her prime, you know, she was there in the greatest war. They start this movie with Bruce Wayne actually delivering to her. We find out that Wonder Woman is in modern day. She works at the Louvre, right? And looking at like ancient like Amazon stuff. And then she gets a gift from Bruce. This is now after Batman v Superman, which is the original photo. And he asks her like, maybe one day you'll tell me
your story.
And this then goes into a flashback about Wonder Woman's like origin, which is she's on this island of, you know, their mascara, which is like all Amazons, and then she's wants to be a warrior. Did you like this opening, Charles? She's a little girl, she's getting her training.
I liked it because I think it ties into the Wonder Woman that I know from the comics, which is she was a strong woman, a warrior, and loved to go into battle. So the little girl kind of really was hoping for that kind of lifestyle, the warrior lifestyle from a young age, and I really dug that. And
then they kind of tweaked the origin from the comic books, because in the comic books she actually was molded from clay. This kind of like mixed the New 52 origin with the older origin. So her mother tells her, you know, I formed you from clay, but really we find out, you know, she's actually kind of like Zeus's daughter. She's a god. And she actually, I mean, this isn't a huge spoiler. I treat it as a spoiler, but it's not, is Ares, the god of war, fought with his brother Zeus, and so Zeus's last act was basically to give them a weapon to destroy Ares, and that's Wonder Woman. She's the weapon. She doesn't know this though.
Right. She's the god killer.
She's the god killer.
So she thinks it's the sword that's powerful. But surprise.
It's Wonder Woman, yeah. She's destined for greater things, but the mom, she wants to keep Wonder Woman because she's developed feelings for her as like her own daughter, and she kind of doesn't want her to go out in the world. Mankind, she teaches her in like this like cool kind of like storybook animated flashback that, you know, basically the gods are real, and Zeus, you know, was the original god, created mankind, but then Ares corrupted them, and now they are on this island of all women. They don't trust man, they don't trust mankind, they're evil, they have corruption in their heart, and then one day Ares, even though he was wounded by Zeus, will come back and they must defend themselves. But they don't necessarily care about anyone outside of this island. They seem to only care about the Amazons, especially, at least the queen has forbid them to leave. If you leave, you're outcast from the mascara, and if you bring men there, you're not allowed to do that. You can't be a man. It's women only on this island. Wonder Woman is forbidden to do training as a warrior, but her sister, who's from House of Cards, right?
Robin Wright.
Right.
Yeah, is a badass in this, and is like, no, she needs to start learning training. Ares will come back. and the two sisters kind of clash on their ideology.
The mom, she was very easily influenced. She's like, oh, okay, all right. No, you can't leave. Oh, you're leaving. Okay, I get it.
Can't
Right.
stop you.
Or
Yeah, no, her twist was pretty funny. Like, it was like a little bit forced, but they're trying to cram like a lot of backstory. Like, so it was a weird conflict that's resolved very quickly. The mom's kind of just like, no, you can't train, and then her sister's like, you know it in your bones, she has to train, and then she just like immediately switches like, you're right, you need to train her harder than anyone, and you're just like, okay. This opening for me really worked. I thought the visuals were pretty cool. This movie. Throughout though, like, it seems like it didn't have as big as a budget as Batman v Superman, which I think is unfortunate, but like for whatever reason there's some spotty green screen here and there, but for the most part the special effects are pretty solid. There's some parts that look like especially green screen, but that's a lot of movies. I mean, that's even the Marvel movies suffer from that. But this opening, I thought for the most part worked, and it was pretty cool. Like them, doing flips off each other and the badass training.
shield.
Yeah, the slow motion. Really good.
So you kind of get like a sense of Wonder Woman growing up. She goes from a little kid to an adult. And Gal is then introduced, and she knows that she's different, and I think the first sign of it is when they're training her really hard, she does like her things together, and it sends out this like shock wave of energy.
Her bracelets.
cool.
Yeah.
Which almost hurts her trainer. She's almost wounded. Wonder Woman feels like kind of an outcast because she's looked differently at the Amazon. She kind of runs away, and then right when this happens, coincidence, Steve Trevor's plane, he's fighting in World War I, goes through the invisible barricade and crashes, which kind of like sets forth everything that's about to happen. We meet Chris Pine, who is Steve Trevor. He's a spy working for the British agency. Wonder Woman saves him from his crash plane, and then immediately the Germans bust through as well. And it's a giant battle between the Amazons and the Germans, which I thought, again, pretty cool fight.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Obviously, they'd never seen guns before, so, I mean, they picked it up pretty quickly. Oh, hey, this can hurt.
Bullets hurt bad, yeah. Still win because they're badasses, though.
Right.
I mean, they lose a lot of Amazons with these guns because Amazons haven't seen guns and this technology. They've been clouded from everything. They didn't even know a war was going on.
Yeah. It's been going on for 4 years.
For 4 years,
They had no idea.
They had no idea. Afterwards, once they kill the Germans, they're deciding what to do with Steve Trevor. They introduce the lasso, they put it around Steve Trevor, and they basically ask him about the war, and he has to tell the truth. So they just had their meeting. So but that scene also introduced a problem for me, is when Gal chases them down and is like, we need to listen to him and fight. They're like walking outside of the building when they just had their meeting about what to do. And Gal gives this speech where she's like, you have to defend all these people, there's women and children dying. And they're just like, no, but the acting here is a little bit spotty. A lot of the audience in the theater was actually laughing because Gal was delivering lines. And for the most part, she's really solid as Wonder Woman. She is funny, she's a badass, but there's some spotty acting in this film, and that's definitely one of the ones that stood out for me when she's trying to convince the other Amazons. Again, this is a superhero movie. It's like they're not Academy Award winning things. I would say this is on subpar with, any of the Marvel movies. There's some spotty acting as well. But this was, like, to me, noticeable that this was kind of like a little messy of an acting scene.
I mean, it should be one of those scenes where her speech rallies everybody up and all right, you're right, let's go save everybody. And it didn't feel like that. And I don't know if it was just maybe the dialogue or
could have been the dialogue, yeah.
But I mean, I can see where other people.
It felt kind of sloppy and awkward to me. She doesn't fit in. She's different. She's obviously way more powerful than everyone else now, and she's kind of going through that phase. Like, hey, maybe I need to go save the world.
Right, because she's trying to say like we need to stop Ares. That's our point, and the Amazons are just like, no, we just need to protect ourselves and listen to our queen, who forbids it. There is a funny little scene with her and Steve where they first kind of like notice each other's different because she hasn't seen a man in person where he's naked taking a bath. I thought that was a funny scene. It worked.
I like that.
And it kind of like changes the roles around, It's like normally, you kind of like objectify a woman in these films, and this is kind of like objectifying a man. Chris Pine is totally naked, like covering his dick and stuff, and she's checking him out. It was kind of like a role reversal thing where it's checking out the male form and stuff like that. But I thought it was funny, and it also just shows like, she comes from a different culture, she's not embarrassed by this and stuff. And there's like even like a kind of a funny joke where she's like, what's that? And you think she's talking about his penis, but then she's talking about a watch. They push it a little farther than like you think like a kids movie would go. It's still a family film, but they definitely have some adult humor in there that is kind of funny, adult-like themes, but they do it in a way where it's not like totally on the nose or obvious or anything like that. And this also sets kind of like the tone of this movie is very interesting. It's almost more Marvel than DC. DC for Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman, they had some jokes, but the tone was kind of more dark. This is kind of feels like a little bit lighter. It still has dark things in it, but there's a lot more, I thought, humor in it. And I thought for the most part the humor did land. Like the audience liked the jokes.
The humor was good, and a lot of it was Wonder Woman's naivety.
Yeah, fish out of water. Yeah, she's naive. She doesn't understand.
Putting on the different outfits, trying to fight in them. Yeah, which one's most utilitarian when they're more concerned about fashion at that time. Yeah, it was funny though.
Yeah,
I liked a lot of the jokes.
Wonder Woman then decides to basically get the weapon that she thinks, because she doesn't know it's herself. She thinks it's the sword and lasso and the Wonder Woman costume. She breaks in, which is where we first see her start to figure out she's like a little bit stronger than their other Amazons. She literally climbed this brick wall by busting her hands into it, which is a pretty cool scene. She then puts on the gear, and her and Steve are gonna leave to get back to the war because she wants to stop Ares. She thinks Ares is behind the war and she has to kill him. And Steve says, if you get me off the island and save me, then I will take you to the front of the war. But before she does that, her mother stops her and like basically tells her, if you leave, you can never come back.
You're banished.
You're banished. Which is why this is the whole theme. Wonder Woman, still to this day, modern day, like, what are we at? Like, what's World War I to now? How many years? I have no idea. 100? Probably. 100. Still to this day, is not going back to the mascara. She just doesn't. She can't. And that's kind of why she is a hero now and works with Justice League, because she can't go back to this island of Amazon. She's not allowed to. So then we go to London, because that's where Chris Pine has to. He explains his backstory. There is a woman named Dr. Poison, and then the guy, this German, who are developing like a new weapon to gas people. Chris Pine was undercover as a spy, and this is what he was trying to escape, is this book of her plans. Yeah. So he wants to go back to London. They make the deal, and they go back on a boat. Again, they have a funny exchange. She's like, can you sleep with me?
Literally sleep.
Like not sleep, yeah. And he's like, I can't, we're not married. It's like, it's funny, and it just shows the difference of the cultures. I liked all the opening, and I thought they did a good job. And that's like a good, probably like, 40 minutes of the film, I would say, that whole section that we just talked about, maybe 30. But it does a good job of like explaining Wonder Woman, her motivation and the conflict, and setting up Steve Trevor.
I was pretty engaged through that whole first 40 minutes or so.
Yeah.
They could have done that more poorly. It takes a lot to set up a story like that and really, keep the audience engaged. It's not like Suicide Squad's
right, where it's a montage or something
terrible
like that.
montage. It's just like they're trying to fit way too much into one film.
Right.
So I thought it was a healthy balance of interest and
it doesn't at enough pace,
action.
And then it actually like makes you care. I don't think it was perfect. There are like some cheesy moments and again spotty green screen, but like for the most part, it's pretty solid. The opening act. And then we're like in this part where it's the fish out of water. Like David said earlier, she's basically in London. She doesn't understand why women cover themselves up, because she's like wearing like no pants. She's a warrior, and she's like in her warrior gab. So they immediately try to give her like an undercover outfit where she's trying on all these different things, and she's like, how come you can't kick? I thought, again, this part was funny and worked. I thought they almost play it like a little bit. She's too dumb sometimes, but like she's very smart. She understands all this language. Would you really misunderstand clothes for armor? Like that part to me, stuff like that was just like built up for laughs, where they played it like she's a little too dumb. But again, for the most part, it worked and it was solid, I thought.
Yeah, I think it's tough to introducing that sort of fantasy world to like the DC universe. Just like with Thor in the Marvel universe, it's most of the Marvel universe is sort of grounded in somewhat reality on Earth.
Right.
And then you're bringing in Thor from a whole nother dimension. And so bringing in something like that, I think, is tough, and I thought they did a really good job of introducing that, and it made sense.
Yeah.
In this world.
And it was, the weird thing with DC, that unlike Marvel took like a really long time to build towards like, establishing everything. Like they did like Iron Man, and then they kept building, and then they're like, here's S.H.I.E.L.D., and then here's the Avengers, and then here's Hulk. Like they built all this stuff, and it got weirder and weirder. And then Thor, here's magic's kind of like introduced, and now they're at Doctor Strange, where it's like real magic, like, and then they did Guardians of the Galaxy, where it's like, okay, now there's talking raccoons, they went step by step, where DC kind of was like, here's the Suicide Squad, you haven't even met all the other heroes, but we're doing the villains now, which is like, what? And Batman v Superman, we haven't really even established any of this, but Batman's old, and it was a weird way to do it, But I think they kind of felt like we're at this point now of almost fatigue with superhero movies, especially superhero origin movies. And that, I feel, is definitely true. So, and at the same point where DC just kind of did it really sloppily, it makes sense because it's like, would we really want to see 10 more origin hero movies? Right. I probably wouldn't, like, to be honest.
Yeah.
The only one that separates this, which I actually give it a real star, a lot of people are mad at me for continuing to say this, but I think why this one is better than, like, say, Cap 1 as an origin movie is because it's a female director and a female star, and that's rare in a superhero genre. Besides Elektra, which was freaking terrible, and Catwoman, there's been no lead superhero movies, especially in the two universes. This is the one thing that DC has beat Marvel at, is getting a female-led hero film. They haven't done that yet. They have Captain Marvel coming up, but that hasn't happened. Right. And I feel like it does give little girls especially a positive hero role model, you know, and that's kind of like a giant theme throughout the movie is a lot of people are going to try to marginalize you or, you know, look down on you because you are different, but then you have to be strong and you can survive this and you can do great things, you know, if you believe in yourself. If you believe it is like what the whole kind of like theme that they keep bringing up. So I think that elevates this film above a typical origin movie just for the fact that that is new, and people are like, well, it's just a female, like, what's the matter? It's like, well, it's different because it is a female, and that doesn't happen a lot in this genre. So that does elevate this into a place of like, holy crap, like, and it has better action scenes than Cap 1 too.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, we're also introduced to Chris Pine's secretary, who is kind of like the funny comic relief lady. She was fine.
She did her job. She was
funny. Carrying the sword and shield, that was a funny scene.
Yeah, and then immediately Steve Trevor goes to his superiors to give them the book. We were then introduced to, we're not going to spoil it to the end, but this British guy with the mustache, who's Sir Patrick, who's kind of like the head of, I guess,
early Parliament or something.
Early Parliament of
the
vague, yeah. But they come in and basically the generals are arguing with him. He wants peace, and the other generals are all angry and they won't listen to him about peace. And Wonder Woman is like, you know, people are like, why is there a female in here and stuff like that? And Wonder Woman is like, why are you guys all cowards and you won't fight? And they basically won't let Chris Pine go to stop Dr. Poison because Dr. Poison's making this thing that he has the book to because they are trying to make an agreement to end World War I, and they think this will put a damper in that. Chris Pine's like, well, if they're not gonna let me do it, I'm gonna go get my own basically team. And this is where it got like a little similar to Cap 1, is they put together this ragtag group of misfits to go like the Howling Commandos to go like do it themselves. And they go to the bar and they meet them, and we get to see the Scottish guy who's a sniper, who's kind of like really a drunk and kind of loud. The other guy who's an actor with the little hat.
He's like a Turkish guy.
Guy. And then we got who else was on the team?
The chief.
Oh, the chief, the Indian, but we don't meet him till later. So at the bar we just meet those guys, and later they get an Indian chief who we're gonna meet like in like 2 scenes more. And then the British guy comes in, Sir Patrick comes and he's like, I'm gonna fund this expedition. Here's the money to basically get you the train to get to the front lines. So Chris Pine takes his friends and Wonder Woman to get to the front lines, and this is where Wonder Woman kind of sees the tragedies of war. She sees like all these like burned people and like it's so horrible and blah blah blah. And then they actually camp. They meet the Indian guy, and they're all camping. And the Scottish guy has like a flashback where his friends are dying. And then Wonder Woman asks the Indian guy, like, you know, what happened to your people? What side do you fight for? And he's like, I'm all alone. Basically, his people killed my people. He's pointing to Chris Pine, who's white, killed all the Indians, you know. Which shows, you know, like, it's never, like, black and white. He's saying, the white man did it to me. What do you guys think of the team?
Nobody really served any real purpose. I mean, the Scottish guy who was the sniper, there's a moment in the movie where Chris Pine and Wonder Woman, that their team are being attacked by Sniper. Mm-hmm. So they tell their sniper, hey, take that guy out. And he can't take the shot.
Right, he can't take the shot.
So I thought maybe his character would later have an arc of like overcoming his struggles, but he didn't. And then the Turkish guy just became Chris Pine's driver later.
Right. They're kind of underused for sure.
They are definitely.
They're pretty one-dimensional. The only thing I think that they serve is, again, they're all different ethnicities and they have different problems that fits into the whole thing about being a woman and being judged and stuff like that. So Turkish guy is like, I wanted to be an actor, but I can't because of my skin. The Indian guy is like, white people killed my thing. I'm the last guy. And then the other guy is going through PSD, which shows kind of the horribleness of war. He's a sniper that can't snipe anymore because he's seen his friends die.
Shell shock.
Shell shock, yeah.
And he's an alcoholic.
He's kind of the worst one, I thought, though, that out of the three. I like the Indian, I like the Turkish guy, but then the sniper guy I thought was kind of annoying and almost like too cartoony.
Yeah, I feel like later his character just became the guy with the scope so that they could see things far away. That was really his only purpose after that.
Right. We get to the no man's land, which is a trench, and they haven't been able to get through for, I think, the entire war for 4 years.
They haven't gained any ground.
Any ground.
In World War I, that's how it was. It was, you just try and slowly inch
crawl forward,
and it was a deadly time. It's like no one made any progress, and then you have this powerful woman come in, and she's just like, I'm gonna win. We're gonna win the war.
And that's a pretty cool scene.
You've made no progress over 4 years, and then you have this woman come in and just...
She kind of empowers the soldiers too, so then they all run behind and charge, and this is like the first big action scene you've seen since the beginning of the scene with the Amazons versus the Germans. Now we have this scene. Wonder Woman charges through the front lines, and then she gets to this town where it's like taken over, and she tells them like stay back, and she just goes in there and like kicks ass. And one of the coolest scenes, which is in the trailer, she jumps into like this window and there's guards everywhere. She kicks in someone. It does the slow motion thing. It's similar to the Batman fight in Batman v Superman, which was one of the better parts of that film. But this is also another cool one. It's well executed. Like some people said it was almost too much slow-mo, where they do the slow-mo speed up. But I thought it was better than what Zack Snyder does, because you could see everything. It's clearly like executed, and you can see all the hits and the wides, and the action, the choreograph was really good and impressive. And then she knees that guy in one of the coolest shots where she breaks through the glass, and then she continues to run on a roof, jumps down, takes out, I think it's a tank. She's blocking everyone. She's using the lasso, like throwing everyone around. And then there's a sniper in the tower. Like you said, the sniper can't take the shot. So like Chris Pine had saw with the shield from earlier with the Amazons, they pick up this door that Wonder Woman had ripped off, I think, a tank, and they shoot her into the sniper thing, and she just destroys it. The crowd was like clapping during that, because it was a pretty badass action scene. To compare it to, it is very similar to Cap 1, but Cap 1 only had like a montage and then a flamethrower fight, and that was it. This movie has like 3 badass action scenes in this film, and that was one of the strongest ones. And again, for the most part, the effects look pretty good. There's a couple scenes I thought with the lasso that looked a little fake, and then a couple times where they switch, because again, a person can't do this. For the most part, it looks really good. But then there's some shots where she jumps and it looks like a CGI character. Like it doesn't look like a real human.
Yeah, some of the guys she hit too, like the way their body twisted, was just you could tell like it was really. If you're looking close,
if you're not prone to this stuff, some people are not. But if you're like a film person that looks for this stuff, then it's like you're spotted. But if you're just like an average moviegoer, you probably won't
shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah, you probably won't even notice. So it's not like terrible. It's not like Sharknado or anything, but like it's noticeable if you're looking for it. So that action scene happens, which is pretty badass, and then they're celebrating in this town, and this is Chris Pine, Steve Trevor, shows her how to dance. They're kind of getting close. She's feeling a connection to him. They then go up to his room, and it's implied they make love, which I thought was cool that she doesn't
take her clothes off. I thought it was great that it was just implied with the kiss. I think that's all you needed.
Yeah, I think, and then also I just thought it was good that they had sex, so she's not super naive. Yeah, like it's kind of weird where Captain America, where he's like fish out of water, you're like, is he still a virgin now? Because when he became Captain America, he hadn't slept with anyone, and then it's like, he went in as that like squinty dream, and then it's like they even make a joke about that in the Avengers, like where she's like, are you still like a virgin? And he's like, no, I slept with people. But it wasn't that awkward, like, okay, this is like an adult now who is a superhero but still hasn't slept with anyone. So Wonder Woman's got that out of her belt, like she slept with Steve Trevor, and she's a full woman. Not that's what it takes to be a full woman, but it's a part of being an adult is having sex. True statement.
Yeah.
Continue forward.
The German general is having a gala, and they need to break into the gala, and Dr. Poison will be there. So they need to find out what her plans are and stop her. So they need to sneak into the gala.
Right, and we should definitely take like a brief second here to talk about the 2 villains. So when you start the film, you're under the assumption that the German general is Ares under disguise. That's who Wonder Woman thinks it is.
Wonder Woman says Ludendorff is Ares.
and if she kills him, then the war is going to end, is her theory. Dr. Poison is a woman with like, she scarred her face probably through gassing things because she loves to gas things, and so she has this weird kind of like mask which is historically accurate. I actually looked this up. I was like, what the hell is that with that mask? And it turns out some people who, you know, were disfigured would wear like a weird face thing like that. They were pretty bad villains, though, to be fairly honest. All of their scenes usually just involve them trying to test the gas on things, or just shooting a guy just to show they're evil, you know, like he's going to inspect one of the German places and this guy's like, the men are like struggling, and he just shoots them. And then there's another scene where it's like the Germans basically say, you know, we don't want you to do the gas, we're trying to do the peace thing, and he throws the gas in, and then he throws a gas mask in, and then she's like, but the gas mask won't work, and he's like, well, they don't know that, and they all like laugh and snicker. I was like, oh my god, this is so bad. So it's unfortunate that the villains were a little weak, especially those two. There's another villain again who's Ares, which we're going to as we get closer to the end, but the majority of the time you spend with those two villains. And it's not a lot of scenes. I would say, I guess there's probably like 2 or 3. Yeah, but they're pretty bad and they're very cartoony.
It was a little strange. I didn't understand exactly, because at one point I thought maybe Dr. Poison was Ares with the capsule. She gave the general like these magical capsules
that enrage him.
And sort of like this glow. His skin would glow, and he got like super strength. So I thought maybe this was Ares giving him some kind of magic potion.
Right.
And then that kind of went nowhere. They never explained what that stuff was or how she made it.
No.
It's just a formula that
hulks him out.
Ares might have whispered into her ear.
So they get to the gala. Wonder Woman wants to kill the German guy. He's gonna test his gun. They don't know what's going on in this gala. Chris Pine stops her from killing him because she thinks that once she kills him, it's not going to stop the war. He doesn't believe, Wonder Woman, that this is Ares, you know? So Steve Trevor stops her, and then they shoot the gas, and they kill the whole town that she just saved, which is kind of messed up.
The whole village is wiped out.
Yeah.
In, again, a little bit of a cartoony thing. It's like this orange visible gas that they go there, and Chris Pine is literally at the edge of it, and he's like, Wonder Woman! And I was just like, he'd be dead. What are you
nerve gas or mustard gas, You're done.
So she's mad now at Steve because he won't believe her that killing Ares would have stopped all this, and now the town's dead. And immediately this happens. This is like the conflict between Steve and Wonder Woman. They see the Indian guy has lit a smoke signal in the distance, and she just charges off to go kill Ares. She's like, no, I'm gonna end this. She blames Steve, so they kind of go like a little bit of a separate path. She's kind of like on her own. She then finds the German general.
Ludendorff.
They have this little fight. It's not very long.
Yeah, I was expecting a big fight. I thought he was the villain.
And then stabs them, and nothing happens. War's continuing on. They're loading the gas. Her and Steve have an exchange. She's shocked that she's wrong. She's shocked that this doesn't do anything. Everyone's still fighting. And Steve Trevor's trying to say, it's man, you know, we're flawed. You know, like people will always kill and hurt each other and hurt children. We have different views, but what you believe is the important thing is fighting for good. You can change things with that. It doesn't have to be about just, you know, the fact that he's corrupting everyone. There's a little bit that we're all not perfect, you know, and all sides have a point of view, you know, like people fighting on this side of the war and this side of the war, it's like they're not, soldiers aren't necessarily the bad guys, you know, and they kind of go into that too. Is they're just people that live in that country. They're probably drafted to war and had to fight. It's just like, that's it, you know. Some of them believe in the cause, you know, like some of the Germans in World War I were just like, yeah, we have to kill the Americans. But then other ones are just, they had to do it. That's the country. They're following orders.
You know, Wonder Woman's whole belief is that Ares is causing man to fight. That he's behind all this. So when she kills who she thinks is Ares and the war doesn't stop, I really like that Chris Pine gave her that speech that it's like, it's not one person, there's millions of evil people in the world, and it really kind of brought you back to like, that's true, you know, there are tons of good people and bad people, and it's all about who you choose to be. You have a decision to be a good person or a bad person, and you know, it's all about making the choice, and I really like that sort of message that the film got across.
So Wonder Woman is distraught. She thinks she killed Ares, and it's not true. And then she finds out the twist is Sir Patrick, the nice curly mustache guy, is actually Ares. He was undercover. This is like the bizarre kind of like reaching twist. He was undercover whispering on both sides. So he's in the UK whispering those guys, causing them to want to fight. And then he's whispering to the German commander and Dr. Poison, different stuff. He's creating all this. and he tells Wonder Woman, you know, like, Zeus hurt me, but you're the weapon, and, you know, Zeus created you, but these people aren't worth you. You know, you could be a god with me, and we could create all this chaos and be even stronger. You know, I want you to work with me, and we can rule this world.
Right. They want to wipe out humanity. They've seen humanity is flawed. Well, he knows humanity's flawed. He wants to wipe all of them out and start over with Wonder Woman by his side.
Yeah. But it's just a little, his whole plan is a little forced, and it just comes out of kind of like left field, where it's like, oh, the nice British guy with the weird mustache is the villain. And then they kind of go into a Dragon Ball Z type, he's floating and throwing stuff. It works for the most part. It's a little sloppy, though.
Wonder Woman's getting her ass kicked in the fight, and then finally she has to go Super Saiyan, and I wasn't that impressed with the fight. I guess he's not really trying to kill her. He's trying to get her to join him. You know, Ares tries to convince her to drop the tank on Dr. Poison, because obviously Dr. Poison's pretty evil, but
she won't do it.
Yeah, she won't do it.
She's good.
I thought the end fight was a little too much CGI. Ares' character just wasn't threatening enough, I guess, in my opinion, to where that you feared that she was going to lose the battle. It just wasn't. He wasn't a scary enough villain. In my opinion.
He should have had like a full-on beard rather than just the little
weird mustache. Or it should have went away, and he just should have been like flames or something. Yeah. He does get the gear, but he still has his face and mustache.
Because it's still Sir Patrick with the curly mustache under the helmet, and it just doesn't look.
And even in a weird thing, they do a flashback and they show him when he first was wounded by Ares, but he's all buff, but it's still his face with the curly mustache. I thought he adapted this look like for, you know, to be the undercover Sir Patrick, but nope, he's just always had this like weird curly ass mustache. They also do like a pretty cool scene then. Steve has to basically get rid of this poison. It's gonna go off no matter what. And so as she's fighting with Ares, she gets kind of like her hearing dampered, and you don't get to hear what the exchange is between Steve and Wonder Woman. He then takes the plane and he flies into the air, and spoilers, is he kills himself to save everyone, you know, because all the people down there, the Germans and his people, would have been killed by this gas, would have went off. And so he sacrifices himself to save everyone. Everyone is, you know, pretty sad that Steve is dead, but he saved everyone. And this kind of fuels Wonder Woman to be like, oh, he was willing to give up himself. You know, people are good. Sacrifice himself to save all these other people. And basically fuels her to kill Ares. You know, just goes fucking ballistic. Super Saiyan again. She's flying and throwing things and charging and like super powerful. And like she's never been. And kills him. And then once that his influence is gone, you see the Germans kind of like put down their guns. They're like, why were we so angry and fighting? And they hug these two younger twins, it looks like, take off their helmets, Germans, and they're hugging, and the Indian guys hug it. Everyone's kind of happy and stuff like that. They wrap that up. They do like a memorial then for all the fallen soldiers back in the UK. Put Steve's picture there. Then we cut to back to modern day. She's still looking at that photo that Bruce gave. And basically she says, you know, that's what fuels me, and that's why I always fight for people, and that's why I am who I am. And she kind of like jumps off the building like into the air, like she's kind of like the hero shot. And that's the entire film. Really random thing that like I definitely thought was they never call her Wonder Woman in the entire film.
So now we wonder,
where did she get that name? Just Lex
Luthor gave it to her.
Yeah, Lex Luthor gave it to her in his PR form that designed her logo. It was super weird. I was like, they never say Wonder Woman. I mean, they didn't need to. I know it's kind of cheesy, but it's like, why does she have that name then? It's like, she's Diana, the princess, and then she never says, I'm Wonder Woman, you know? It's like, so it's weird. So it's like, I guess Lex did give it to her in this universe. But for a movie that's named that, it's kind of just bizarre that they don't ever bring that up.
I really enjoyed the action in this one compared to the other DC movies.
I think it was a solid action superhero movie. It's one of the better ones. Is it like great or complex? I don't think so. I think it's like a typical origin superhero movie. Like to me, this is just my opinion, but I really like the ones that I think are like going beyond what the superhero genre can do, is like The Dark Knight and Logan. But this is obviously not trying to do those things. It's just a solid superhero movie from DC, which is pretty rare. Plus a female lead, which is pretty rare, which elevates it higher than it would have been if it was just like another Captain America origin movie or something like that. I thought it was cool that it was set in World War One. I thought they gave it a little bit of flavor.
I think World War One's underrepresented, and
yeah, I mean the Nazis are
Nazis
are so much easier to do.
I guess my biggest complaints, or aside from the villains being weak, is I didn't really like the slow-mo stills of
the poses.
The poses. I thought that was maybe on the cheesy side, or just like, we know she's great already. We know she's this wondrous woman.
Over the top comic booky.
Overall, I mean, I'd give it a solid 7.5 or 8 out of 10.
Probably the best DC movie that's come out so far.
In the cinematic.
In the cinematic.
Yeah, definitely. And it just shows. No offense to people that love Zack Snyder, I know he just went through a tragedy, but like it just shows when you give it to a different director who takes their time to develop a thing. Because the Batman v Superman was just such a mess, and I don't think it was like the casting or just like, I just think it was a bad movie. And this shows that's like, well, you could do DC characters justice. You know, these guys can be as cool as Marvel if you just give it to the right hands. And Patty Jenkins, who's the female director that directed this, or Jenkins, she did a fantastic job. The action was good, and the humor was there. You cared about the characters. It's just like, you cared about what's going on. It was just an actual film where it's like, Batman v Superman was just...
Yeah, she was great though. I would love to see her direct another DC or Marvel film.
She's definitely going to do Wonder Woman 2. I mean, the success of this movie, her and Gal are signed on for the sequel. That's already, I mean, it's pretty much a done deal. As long as this makes money, and it seems like it's going to, then we're going to get a Wonder Woman 2. And the thing that they've talked about is they want to do it in modern day, because they basically have wrapped up the World War I story, so now it will be
her origin,
a modern day Wonder Woman story. And Wonder Woman has a lot of cool villains that they could do. What's the Cheetah girl? Cheetah, I think, is it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that she fights with all the time. Who I think is an Amazon that was cursed, is her origin, which is pretty crazy. Yeah. Of course, the next film that we're seeing is Justice League, which is still coming. Zack Snyder had to step down because of personal family tragedy, and Joss Whedon has just recently taken over the reshoots and post-production of that film to finish it, so that'll be the next DC film we see. And then James Wan is shooting now Aquaman. Jason Momoa is going to be Aquaman, and that's going to be his solo film. And let's hope that they do as good a job with Aquaman as they do.
Wonder Woman has set the bar for the DC universe,
they need to keep that standard.
They need to keep going, making them as good as that.
Yeah, minimum, definitely. And I hope they pull it off with Justice League, because they definitely need one. I think there's room enough for both these characters. It's not like Marvel versus DC, and it's always been like that, but I think you just want good films, right? You just want to see all these characters done justice, no pun intended. You want just them to not suck. I think that with the last two films, they just kind of rushed them. It just shows that, like, if you give it to someone that can take their time and understands the material and the characters, then you can get something really good. So I would just say, find people that really identify. I think the director of this film really liked Wonder Woman and liked the fact that it's about a female superhero, and really put that into the film, and you felt it in every different scene, and then it came out a stronger film because it's someone that likes the source material and understands it. Again, no offense to Zack Snyder, but for whatever reason, his take on Batman v Superman was just a colossal.
Yeah. You have two of the most iconic comic book characters in history in the same movie, and that movie should have been a home run.
Should have been a home run, easy.
It should have been every fanboy's dream, and it failed.
Yep. And Suicide Squad, again, just a kinetic freaking editing mess, that they took 6 weeks to write that script, and then it's just like montage, it just makes no sense.
Half of the movie's a montage.
Yes. There's some good aspects about both those films. Overall, they're not good films. No offense if you like those films. I think you're like, I like them, I don't understand all the hate. Well, it's like, they're kind of messes. There are cool parts about all of them, like I liked Ben Affleck as Batman. I thought he did a decent job. I liked the fight scenes with Batman. I thought those were really cool, where he beats up in the warehouse was dope. And then Suicide Squad, there's, I liked Will Smith. It's always good as Will Smith.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they're just kind of were messes, and this is the first, like, oh, this is a film, like, it works, the structure, it just functions as an actual thing. I think that comes down to taking the time and getting someone that understands it. Do this again. Give the next one to someone that really can nail this. Well, anything else about Wonder Woman, guys? That kind of wraps up the whole talk. I thought Gal was good. It's had some spotty acting. I thought the directing was good. The action was good.
Yeah, I definitely recommend
it. Yep.
I thought she was great.
Yeah.
So yeah.
She was strong. She was badass. She was beautiful. All right. Well, thanks for watching Now Showing, and this was the Wonder Woman review. Please like and subscribe. Thanks, Charles, for being our guest.
Thanks for having me.
Again, if you want to see a different film or a rewind movie, leave a comment below, and I guess we'll talk to you soon.